Hey, welcome back. Okay, so the rules get really convoluted here. But this is what I basically determined. So the early warning effects, uh, it's really bizarre, but it seems like you only get to pick one, which makes no sense to me. Because if I have SAS there, and I have the Nimrod, why can't I do both? Because the SAS is automatic, by the way. You don't even have to roll a die. You automatically get SAS. So this is risky because if you don't roll a 1 or a 2, you fail to detect the raid. So why would I never choose the SAS, you know? So I know it from a literal perspective, you choose one and only one, but I still like and prefer that you just go down the list, right? And you're just taking the best available. So if this fails, then at least the SAS still succeeds. Now, with that being said, you scramble your Harriers if you ever detect the raid. We failed to detect the raid. We had no way to detect it, so it dropped all the way to the bottom. And it says if there's any Harriers present, because you scrambled, you do air to air. Otherwise, you go air to surface. Okay, so what does that have to do with the surface to air? Well, if you go through the air to air section, there's quite a bit of back and forth, but when you get to the end of air to air, it says the task force must now rely on ship-based defense systems. So now it rolls right into the surface to air. So the Harriers sort of engage them, and if they failed, then now the ships can engage. Unfortunately, we have to skip all this because we don't have any Harriers in that location. So this is where that cap patrol really does make a difference. And we backfired by not having a cap there, and it would have been just one more ship or one more plane to put there, and it is our highest probability area. So I'm a bit of a fool for not doing it, but I'm going to chalk that up to learning the game. So now air to surface is happening. Basically, they just blew past everything, and they're going to do a surprise attack on us, and we don't get a chance to do any of our interceptions. So this is bad. We may lose a ship, but let's see what happens. Okay, so first thing we got to do is put all these tokens in a container. I don't have a container, so... All right, so I grabbed the tokens, and I'm just going to put them in my hand and sort of mix them as we're reading the next section here. So we're going to draw a surface vessel randomly from the container, place it in the Royal Navy box on the combat display, and this ship is the target for the current attack. If the ship drawn was the last one in the container, then all remaining Argentinian aircraft will attack this target. If there's only one remaining attack aircraft, or there are still ships left in the container, then only one aircraft will attack the target during this bomb run. Argentinian aircraft now engage their targets. Depending on the attacker, roll, and only a 1 hits. So these are the Canberras, by the way. That's what the Trelu is. So we're rolling a 1, I'm sorry, you can't see. We're rolling a 1d12. So the chances of them hitting are going to be pretty low. But the one I drew is this one, the HMS Coventry. So I apologize if it's looking a little dark there. The HMS Coventry is the one that we drew. And so we are attacking that with a d12, or they're attacking it, and I rolled a 7. I was actually a little scared because that 7 looked like a 1 for a second. So if they hit, then it's immediately and permanently removed from the game. Any aircraft that just attacked is now returned to its respective airbase. So this would be this. So I'm going to just move that forward to show that he's done with his attack. So now we got one more attack, and then this one didn't get hit. So it's just there. So if there are additional, then we go back to step 1. So now I'm going to grab Coventry, because it's possible they could both attack Coventry. Da, da, da. Now it's the Glasgow. Okay, so again, we're rolling a d12. Ooh, that one was a close one, but there's been no damage to our ships. And believe it or not, the turn is over. So by moving the SAS team to the Entendards, or however you pronounce those, I still think that was a good call, because even though we failed to detect these guys, these Canberras aren't very good at hitting our ships. I mean, it's a 1 in 12 chance, right? It's pretty good odds that we're going to survive, and we did, right? We just survived 2 craft coming at us. So I'm putting both of these back at their base. That was a little bit exciting. I think now we learned the value of having a good cap, because even if you can't scramble, having a cap allows us to intercept if they go to that area. So not a bad move. I really like the idea of being here, because since I have 3 empty targets or zones, if they ever did make it all the way through, we'd be screwed. And nonetheless, we are at the end of the round. So we're going to take these 2, and we have to make sure we're looking at the right one. They're both Hermes, and so they go, the rule book knocked these over. So these guys from arming are going back into the ready box, and then all the flown ones are moving over to arming. So, so we got quite a few that'll be ready next turn, and maybe we need to be a little more selective and not go all out after the supply ships if we're going to be attacked like this in the future. We do have a carrier coming out to sea, and we move on to turn 10. So very interesting. We don't get reinforcements until turn 6. But so far, still, I like the game. This is definitely beer and pretzels kind of game. I mean, you got a lot of rolling dice, and I am making decisions. I'm not making an awful lot of decisions, but I'm making some. And I mean, thematically, I feel like I'm in the tension of wanting to take this island, but at the same time, not necessarily wanting to ruin international opinion by sinking and destroying all of the Argentinian Navy. It's very, very interesting. So the Argentinians just took a serious shot at us. Let's roll some dice. Whoops. So that's a 5, which I believe is still nothing. Yep, 5 through 7, nothing. So no weather effects this time. Scramble modifier is back to 0. This detection thing is gone. So moving on, we are going to draw the event card, which has never been good for us. I counted them all out. 19. Oh, that doesn't look good. Whoops, wrong document. RAF commanders in London are lobbying intensively for a Vulcan bombing raid on Port Stanley runway, an operation that will require support from the Sea Harrier Force. So, if we reject the plan, domestic opinion falls by 2. Okay, I don't like that option. If we mount the raid, we have to place 5 Sea Harriers from the ready boxes and place them in the free spaces on the British side of the combat display. They will support the Vulcan attack. Next, roll 3d8 for the Vulcan bomb run. For every result of a 1, a bomb strikes the runway. Then roll 1d6 for each Sea Harrier on the combat display. On each roll of a 1, The Stanley runway suffers an additional hit. Reduce the Argentinian supply level by 1 for each successful runway hit. Oh, well, that's good. Then roll 1d6 a second time. If the number rolled is greater than the number of Sea Harriers on the combat display, the RAF leaks to the media that the task force did not adequately support our operation. Roll 1d8 for each Sea Harrier on the combat display. If the result is 1, it's shot down. Remove it from the game. Okay, well, we're definitely doing the raid. So, I'm not going to worry about the combat display. We're just going to grab 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So there's your 5, right? So no matter what, we roll a 3d8. And let's see how many hit. Oh, we got 1. Okay, so 1 hit. So I'm just going to use this as my counter. So we got 1. Okay. So now it says for each Harrier that I sent, we're rolling a 1d6. And once again, we need a 1. Okay, none of them. And then here's the last one. So they all missed. So we got 1 hit, which reduces the supply by 1. So this is almost like doing a supply interdiction. Next, we're rolling a 1d6. And as long as I don't roll a 6, I'm fine. I rolled a 4. This would have leaked it to the press. And now I'm rolling a 1d8 for each Harrier. So here's 4 of them. 1 got shot down. And that's it. So 1 did get destroyed. So I don't think it matters which one, or I get to pick, I guess. So red 2. And I'm assuming they're out of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out of the game, and then the rest of these are going to go into the flown box for the Hermes. So that stinks that we lost 1, but yeah. Okay, now the rule book has a section for what happens if you lose assets. So like if a ship were to be sunk, you gotta so if the carriers or transports are hit, if any surface vessel is hit, if a British nuclear submarine is hit, that's it. So losing a Harrier, I guess, is not impacting anything. Okay, so those are the things that if we were to lose any of those, it impacts. There's a table and there's instructions on what to do. Okay, well, that was, I would say it was exciting, but it's definitely interesting. We are now 1 short a Harrier here. And we now have hardly any Harriers left to intercept or engage. But we do get to see the sit rep before we decide who's going to do what, and before we decide supply interdiction. So we're going to move. We're advancing. We're going for it. So here's the next sit rep. And here you can see it's still level 4. The weather is fine, so we don't have the risk we did before. And there you can see there's quite a bit of range there. So San Julian is now being entered into the mix, and it's now moderate, so there would be 2 raids instead of just 1. Or sortie, I guess is what you would call them. I would call them a sortie. So we now have to make these decisions, right? Where's our SAS marker going to go? Where's our... my SAS marker, by the way, is staying on the Super Étendard, which is the Rio Grande. We're staying there. As for supply interdiction and how our Navy is going to be rearranged, I am going to move another sub over to here. So we're going to do that. And I got it mixed up. This is a Argentinian sub down here. This is our sub up there. Okay. Yeah, we're moving another sub to the search zone. I'm leaving the naval task forces exactly the way they are. And then we only have 3 Harriers. We did successfully reduce the supply by 1, so I don't think I need to do supply interdiction this turn. So I'm going to let that go. And then I'm going to put 3 on cap. And we're going to do usual suspects here with my new strategy of, like, I always want to protect the carriers. I want to put 1 on the defense zone, and then we're going to put 1 here. That's our new strategy, because that's our highest odds attack area. So that's what we're going to try to do. Okay, so now we move on to the naval deployment. So first things first, we have the 2 subs. I'm going to roll for the one that's already in the search box. And it's moving to the coastal box. So now we're going to roll for the one in the coastal box. It stays in the coastal box. So now I'm rolling for the battle group. Oh, look at this. It's moving to the coastal box. And then I'm going to roll for the carrier. It's not coming out. And then we're going to roll a D4 for the patrol. And it's staying off board. So by me moving that sub, it actually all backfired, but that's fine. It is what it is, right? Okay, so my sub is going to try to detect their sub. I'm not going to try to go after the surface group. I'm going to go after their sub. So looking at our chart, in the coastal box, that is a D6. We failed. So then they're going to try to detect us, and that's a D10 for them. Or no, I'm sorry, a D8. And I rolled a 3. Okay, so nothing happens there. Oh, they got 2 of them, so let's roll another one. No, that's a D10. Let me get that out of there. D8. Okay, so nothing happened. All right, so now our sub's trying to detect their surface group. So that is in the coastal region, that's only a D4. Ooh, we have a chance. And we failed. All right, and then they are gonna roll a D6. And they failed. Okay, so now we move on to Argentine Navy versus Task Force. So Argentine Surface Group and submarine search rolls. So let's start with the submarines. They're both on coastal and they need to roll D10s. I got a 2, but it wasn't close. It wasn't enough. Okay, and now we're doing the battle group, and that is also a D10. I guess it's because since they're near the coast, they're really far away from us. Oh gosh, there it is. He detected us. So we are triggering this new logic here. And this is where we now have to engage him. Oh, where are you? What section? 13. I'm in completely wrong section. Sorry about that. Okay, so it says now for each British unit currently occupying the task force defense zone. Okay, so just as a reminder, we have 3 British units there. We have these 2 ships, and then we have this Harrier. And it is the battle group that detected us. So the Harrier is going to be involved. If it was a submarine, the Harrier can't help us. Roll 1d6 to try to detect each Argentine submarine or task group. if the number rolled is a 1 or a 2, they are detected, and they immediately call off their attack, and they either go off board or ready to war box. Well, in this case, it would be off board. So we're going to roll 3 d6s, basically, and then a 1 or a 2, it's going to be sent home. And look at this. Look at this roll. Holy cow. Okay, so no actual battle happens. The battle group got chicken, and it's going to go off the board. All right, well, at least we got one of them out of there. And now we'll move on to the scramble roll. So it's a d10. I rolled a 10, so no matter what, they're not engaging. So turn is over. These guys are all ready. This one's moving over. And then we got to take the 3 off the task force that were on cap. And these are Hermes, Invincible, and Hermes. Okay, so they're all armed for next turn. So we got a nice little, oops, didn't mean to do that. We have a nice little group ready for next round. Okay, beyond that, I think there's nothing else to clean up. So we are moving on to turn 11. Tuesday, May 11th, 1982. Let's do our weather roll. I rolled an 8. Something is happening. It's gonna, I think, be in our favor. The scramble modifier, it's a +1. So that is in our favor. So by adding a +1, it means it's going to be harder for them to scramble. All right, so we got to do the event first. The military balance is not in our favor. Okay, that's not good. Oh no, I don't like that one. It's a 1. The Argentine leadership is warned that it will be impossible. Oh, this is good for us. Let me get this better focus for you. Possible to defend the islands against a sustained British landing. As a result, a 24-hour ceasefire. Oh. So we're either accepting the ceasefire, international opinion rises by 1. If domestic opinion is 4 or less, domestic opinion rises by 1. If you accept and domestic opinion is currently 7 or more, it falls by 1. Domestic opinion is 6, so it would not hurt us. Or we can reject it and there is no effect. I'm going to go ahead and accept because it means that we skip everything. I mean, it really does. So international opinion is going to go up by 1, and we now have the Chilean surveillance back, okay? That part's pretty cool. I am going to... We have to look at the ceasefire because I think I may not be able to do a sit rep advancement. Just give me a second. So here's what happens when you have a ceasefire. So let me... Only a few actions are performed. The turn marker is advanced. International and domestic opinion adjustment. Argentine San Carlos deployment will continue to reinforce, which doesn't happen for us. Argentine naval deployment roles for task groups off board, not in Puerto Belgrano or at sea, are made. So they're the off-board role is going to be done. Sea Harriers are flown and rearming boxes are advanced normally, and British reinforcements are placed normally. That's it. We don't roll anything. We don't even draw a new sit rep card. So that's the one disadvantage is we delay our sit rep again. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Otherwise, we do have a +1 to our scramble modifier. So the disadvantage is I would not get the international opinion bump. So I think I'm going to let it be. And So the San Carlos display placement, I think, doesn't happen until... Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just getting distracted. I wasn't sure if like San Carlos Island is being, reinforced while all this nonsense is going on, but okay, so I'm gonna do that. The sit rep card does not advance, so it's gonna stay as is, and we don't do anything. There's no, we are gonna roll for, I apologize. There is a patrol ship, and as you now know, the battle group is off board. So let's roll for them. And I rolled a 2 for both, so nothing happens. And then all of our Harriers are now available. We're back to full strength. So we were able to rearm everything and use the ceasefire to get that accomplished. So now we move on, turn 12. So we're just ripping through the turns. Let's roll for weather. Our scramble modifier goes back to 0. It's a 6, so no weather effects. I've been rolling very consistently on this weather thing. Okay, next is the event. Gentlemen, we have a war to fight. 18. So it's really funny. The designer of this game is so big on these mega huge cards that it has just a single number on them, when he could have probably put all the event text on that card. Operational differences developed between senior officers and the 2 British aircraft carriers concerning tasking of flying operations. You may A. Order Rear Admiral Woodward to issue a formal rebuke to the officers, warning them that their actions are undermining the air defense capability of the task force. Domestic opinion falls by 1. Or do nothing. It remains face up. For each turn it remains on the board, Sea Harriers from only 1 carrier may fly during each turn. The carrier used may alternate from turn to turn. This event may only be discarded if and when you issue the warning. Okay. So I think the advantage here is if you assume that we have enough ships or planes on each one, we don't need both per se. But man, oh man, when we hit those events where you got to take 5 Harriers and go do something, it does deplete it fast. I'm going to leave the event on the board, okay? And so that means we're only going to be able to do 1 at a time, and I'm going to go ahead and start with, didn't mean to do that. We're going to go ahead and start with this one. I actually think that that's more or less how I've been playing anyway, so let's see if we can balance that out, and it might hurt us, but we're going to soon find out. All right, sit rep is going away. We are moving up to sit rep 9. It is still level 4, and you can see they are now up to 2 raids if they were to intercept us. Okay, so moving on. No reinforcements. British submarine placement. As you can see, we now have this situation, and I'm going to move one of the submarines back to the coastal, and I'm tempted to move both. You know what? I'm going to go big and go home. Let's go big. So we're going to move all 3 of them to coastal. And let's see if that backfires on us. Okay, looking at the range, the Rio Grande is 6 to 8, so I'm keeping the SAS team in Rio Grande. Now remember, it's a D10 roll, so a 6 to 8 is not a higher probability than anything else. But I'm still going to keep them on the Rio Grande. Okay, cap placement. And then we have interdiction as well. So I want to do at least 3 for cap. No, I'm going to do only 2 for cap placement, because the only thing that can attack me this turn are the subs. Maybe the carrier could. The carrier could potentially come out. But I'm going to put 1 here and here and leave it be. And then we're going to do, remember, this carrier is not allowed to operate next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for supply interdiction. And you know what? I have one left over, so we'll put it on defense zone. Why not? And so I'm going to use the whole carrier because I can't use this carrier next turn. So they'll automatically rearm. Might as well use the whole thing, right? Okay, so we're going to try to do supply interdiction. And you can see I had 4 successes. I only needed 1. And we're getting their supply big time. It's down to 7. We've been very aggressive there. Okay, so that was successful. Supply interdiction, SAS marker placement, cap, we did it all. Okay, so naval deployment. All right, I'm gonna start with the off board. So we have a D4 and a D6. That's a 4 and a 4. So nobody comes on the board. And then now I'm gonna roll for the carrier. It's staying in port. And now I'm gonna roll for the 2 subs. The one on the right, a 4, oh, and there it is, 2 1s. One of the subs is gonna get by us. And then the other one, there's a 1, so he's staying where he is. So I made a mistake. It happens. And I probably shouldn't have done that. Now that I'm realizing what kind of ramifications this mistake might cause, that was probably not a smart move. Okay, so now it's submarine versus submarine. Okay, I'm gonna be rolling 3 dice. We're in the coast, so we rolled D6s. And all of them are fail. So on the coast, they are rolling a D8. Also a fail. Okay, and that's it for detection. So now they're going after our task force because this submarine made it through. So we're going to see if he can detect us. He is in the search zone. So it is a D8. And he failed. So I guess it's not that big of a risk. And that's it. He's done. Scramble. This is our D10 roll. I rolled a 5. Our level is currently a 4, which means we need a 3 or lower. So no scramble occurs. The turn, once again, ends. So there's a lot of tension in this game. Not a lot of scrambles. Okay, so moving on to the next turn. Well, first of all, back to here. Everybody is landing. Sorry, I'm reaching across the table here. Everybody is landing and going into the armed section. So that carrier basically launched everything for the day, and now this carrier is going to be the next day, which, just as a reminder, we have significantly less planes, and the one that was shot down was from the Hermes. So the one that was shot down was from up here. And let me just make sure I didn't accidentally, yeah. So the Hermes is just much more, has a lot more than the Invincible. So anyways, back to the game. We are going to have some pretty cool stuff occur this turn, I think, because we hit our reinforcements. So these reinforcements are all coming out. I'm just going to set them over here on the board. We're on turn 13. Okay, we start with weather. That is a 10. Okay, this is problematic. Okay, so the 10 is a +1 scramble modifier. Downgraded detection. So downgraded for the carrier group. So it's degraded detection, which means if they had to, so whatever die they're supposed to roll gets increased by 1. So a D8 now becomes a D10. So it's going to be harder for them to detect us. Okay, and then, but that's only for the carrier group, which is our Task Force 12. And then there's a Sea Harrier recovery. this is now out. So I believe what that means is if we launch any Sea Harriers and the end of the turn comes, we have to do a recovery step. Oh, where is it? It's in the rulebook somewhere, folks. I think there's even a picture of it. Oh, I think that you have to roll a d10, and on a 10, your Harrier is destroyed. That's what I think is happening. And of course I saw it like 20 times going through this rule book, and now I can't find it. Because we've never had to deal with this before. What am I at? I'm at 36 minutes. Okay, I'll spare you the wait, and I'll see you in a few. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome.